Okay. Whew, I was freaking out. I didn't think I was going to make it. I'm about a minute late, but here we are. Sacrament Sacrament podcast, episode 4. Calm down, laying them hell down. Okay. Get my head back in the game, back in this game specifically, because that's what we're here about. We're here about the Sacrament MMO that a lot of people have been talking about. Us mostly because, well, we love the hell out of this thing. We can't stop talking about it. So I heard you say I said yes, but I didn't hear anything before that. So that could have been because I have my headset turned off because for whatever reason it automatically turns off every time I turn a computer on, but it won't turn on when the computer comes on. So it gets a little tedious. All right, so last week, what did we talk about last week? Last week we talked about ship combat and threat swapping. And we had some really good questions about the mechanics and about the importance of each. And so those, they're going to stay up on the boards as polls for quite some time. I mean, we're talking about a 5-year project right here. Yeah, I know. Make no assumptions. Computer will get you every damn time. 4 to 5 years for before a live launch. A lot sooner than that before alpha beta testing. And reality is, while we're talking about live launches 5 years out, we need to know if we're creating a lot of these systems. And a lot of that comes from players. It's important for us to know not just what we want in a game, because what we want in a game, I'm absolutely sure everybody's going to love. But at the same time, there's a lot of elements that we overlook, or a lot of things that a lot of players might like that none of us like. I'm not a PvPer. I don't really care for PvP. Would I, if I had created this game all by myself and decided to put a full-on team together for this game, would I put the PvP in the game? Absolutely. I would have absolutely needed input from everybody in the mama because I don't know what PvP is like. I have no clue. I don't know what the hell makes you bastards tick, to be perfectly honest with you. Call me Care Bear all you want. But I've been to a real war, so there's a limit on Care Bear there for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to swing dicks or nothing, but let's be a little bit honest about the titles here. PvP in a video game and not doesn't really dictate whether or not somebody's Care Bear or not. So, distracted. I apologize. So anyway, so we talked about a few of these systems last week. So ship combat, right now we're leaning towards a no. I think it's really kind of been, let's see where we're at in that. 113 views, only 25% are saying yes so far, 63% are saying no, and then I don't care. Literally me, I don't care. If people really want to see it, we'll make it happen. But if it, like Czech said, if there's no real value in it right now, then add it later. There's no point putting a system in the game that is only half-assed done, and it's not something we will ever do. So don't ever expect that from us. We're the wrong guys for that. Gamers first, absolutely first. Businessmen, developers, coders, all that stuff comes second, and that's something we felt was very important. The classic MMOs. Man, these classics were made by gamers. Don't forget that. EverQuest 1, UO, Eve, created by gamers. Some of them had the capability to code. They already understood, for the most part, how to do it. Some of them had no idea, and they didn't even get involved in coding, but they were still involved in the creation of the game. So for those out there, especially you Redditors, man, you Redditors, let me tell you something else. I got a special place in my heart for you bastards. Y'all motherfuckers can try some patience. You don't have to be a big wig AAA production company to build an MMO. I hate to break it to you, but show me a game over the last 10 years made by one of these companies that's been any fun. Come on now. If you're trying to use that as a scale to determine whether or not a game's going to be good or not, I think your scale may be broken. Or you're a Republican. I really don't know. Maybe even a Democrat. I don't like either party, though, so I guess it don't really matter. Not to get political. We're not getting political. Okay, so state of the game. Flyover video update. Our guys aren't sick anymore. They've been communicating and working on getting. We are having an issue with Bitbucket, but the file transfer is taking place. So we're on that ball. Everything's moving again. It's still not going to happen by the end of this month. What are we, like a week and a half left in a month? A week left in a month because it's Friday. My whole week. Let me tell you, last week was bad. This week was really rugged, and it's just kind of. So my whole week's kind of off. For some reason, I keep thinking today's like Tuesday or Wednesday, and here we are doing a podcast. So. Yes, down with the AAA. Screw you bastards. I swear to God. You guys took a great name and a great concept and destroyed it for money. Evil bastards. So we're back on track with a flyover video. Back on a track. Obviously, the timeline's getting pushed back a few weeks. So I don't want to give you a time for that, and then in 2 weeks say, never mind, can't do it. I don't want to. I don't want to do stuff like that. So when I have an idea, when I've seen the actual video, I'll let you know. And when I say when I've seen the actual video, at that point, we've still got the music to put over it. So it'll be 2 weeks to a month from that point. So that's the realistic side of it. And we have been in contact with our music team. Music guys are like painters. They always go into their zone, into their own little cave, and they'll create and create and create. Sometimes you got to kind of throw in some light and hope that what you find isn't an old, decaying, smelling corpse of somebody who was so dedicated they forgot to eat. You don't ever want that with the music guys. I used to run a music production and licensing company, so I absolutely know how it is, how difficult and how passionate it is. So I'm not knocking on them. I'm just telling you this is how music guys and artists are, painters, stuff like that. They get real involved in their work. It's easy though because it's almost an exact expression of your soul. Forum life is picking up. It's is as intended, as absolutely intended. I'm not going to sit here and say, I wish we had thousands of people commenting or anything crazy like that. It's a new forum. It's a brand new game. So if you're waiting for the forum life to pick up, more power to you. Honestly, if this wasn't my project, I'd be waiting. I would, I'd look for a place to donate, like what's that name? A Pantheon, I believe it's being called. Quaid is making it. I'd put in a $5 sub and said I'll come back once a month and check it out. Every month I get a notice that I paid them another $5, so I go and see if there's anything new. And there hasn't been anything new since November. So I actually a couple days ago when I got the update, I stopped subbing. For me, it's too damn long to not be talking to you people. I'm sorry. I get really uneasy, and I expect everybody else to get really uneasy too when you're contributing money to somebody and you're not capable of seeing what's going on. So I want, I just want more. I put in a question about bards 6 months ago because they asked for new class ideas and different class ideas, and I haven't got a single response. And I know I'm one of like 1,000 people that might have put in ideas, so I'm not looking for a response directly to me, but I also know I wasn't the only person asked about bards, and it just got overlooked altogether. So for me, that feels like another ESO system, and I'm not knocking you, Pantheon. You're probably busy as shit. Might have overlooked it. I'm just saying, for me, for a lot of gamers out there, get on it. Get on it. I want the game to be a success. I'm excited about Pantheon. I'm excited about this other game. I don't know the name of it. I've just heard about it with a few players who are looking to kind of recreate EQ1. I think it's like 7 people literally in a basement. I'm not making fun of them. That's literally what I was told. 7 people in a basement just hanging out and coding a newer version of EverQuest 1. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't kind of excited about that. So I just haven't had a chance to look into it. So I can't tell you much more about that. Social media life. Social media life. Still, if you got friends who are good at this stuff, send them my way. For the love of God, please send them my way. I'm so bad at social media. If you don't believe me, check Twitter. Adora's great at social media. She knocks herself and gets hard on herself all the time, but she runs her Facebook page. She's really good at it. I don't care what nobody says about you, Adora. You're a cool person in my book. Love you. She's actually one of the founders as well, so give her a lot of shit. I have a special note on here for Reddit. Oh my God, Reddit. Check. I don't know why you sent me to Reddit, man. Okay, so Reddit. I love Reddit, okay? You're not going to get me to say something stupid like, I hate Reddit, Reddit's useless. It's not useless. The issue with Reddit is it's an absolute open forum, for the most part. I mean, I think they've got rules against like telling somebody you're going to hunt them down and kill them, scalp them, rape them, stuff like that. Though I do hear a lot of rape talk that happens on Reddit. So I'm a little kind of mixed up on that one right there. But it's like a free speech, open forum kind of thing. This is for those of you that don't know. Really, more for me to kind of keep reminding me that Reddit's not an evil place. It's just evil people on Reddit. And that's the problem. Evil people on Reddit. Oh my goodness. What are you trolls doing, man? Do you not have a life? Like I've come up with 15 different psychological scenarios as to why people do this kind of stuff. Not just on Reddit, just in life in general. Why they project misery. Some of them don't come off as miserable people. So I think the old idea that misery loves company isn't all there. I think some of this is really fun for some people. Some of it is misery. Some of it's confusion. Who the hell knows? But I got caught up in a little bit of it while I'm hanging out with, my Reddit homies. Check taught me how to Reddit. I made my first post. Oh, for those of you that are into social media stuff, those of you in any marketing field at all, not marketing, I apologize, customer relations, I just want to say I apologize for every time that I gave you crap for anything at all. I don't care if it was even your fault, okay? Anytime I gave any one of you any crap, I just want to apologize. Because I don't know how you do it. You are better human beings than me. I promise you that. Absolutely. So, okay, so on to our discussion. So we've got two discussions tonight. I kind of gave you guys a sneak peek at this last week, and this was the first one pertains to rating. A lot of you I know are really excited about rating. I love rating. There's no question about that. I made that known in every MMO that I've ever touched. Was really disappointed that ESO didn't have rating. The only rating style system they had was really more of like a competitive time trial system. They were actually called trials. And it wasn't, I think a lot of people mistook it as an attempt to create rating. I tried to reason it out. You can ask anybody who's ever been a team speaker with me and talked about rating. I tried to reason it out as an attempt to scale how rating works. Maybe they didn't understand their system wholly, their combat wholly, and maybe they thought of rating as a last minute thing, like, oh crap, we forgot rating kind of thing. And that they were just trying to measure everything that players were capable of. And I passed it off as that for a long time. In our game, rating is, as a matter of fact, when it comes to our game specifically, we measure a lot of things from rating down. What this means is that you won't have just a bunch of fluffed up numbers, multiplied times 5, stuff like that. We scale everything for the most difficult content and then make sure that all that stuff fits. And we're talking about 24 to 36 player raids here, not 6-player raids, so the group content all of a sudden is imbalanced. We scale it for that amount of players and then bring the realization of how, with less players, how would you interact with a dungeon? With even less players, how would you solo? Stuff like this. With different amounts of players, how would you PvP? So all of these things come into play, and we scale it much differently than most video games scale their stuff. Now, I'm not saying that the systems are flawed, because I don't know their systems inside and out. I couldn't tell you either way. What I do know is that the current way that we scale and we measure, the current way that we balance things out is not working. And so Wicked put together quite a bit of information on how he would properly go about scaling. And coming from a veteran gamer myself, having had quite a few veteran gamers and very meticulous min-maxers look at it, there hasn't been very many complaints. Yes, it's got to be tested and fixed and adapted and blah, blah, blah. But that's essentially what it comes down to. So rating in our game, very important. We started out with our rating system being everything from tier 11 up. And the whole explanation's in here, but this is the basics. So I'm the only one that voted so far, by the way. So yeah, I don't care about 12-player rating. I really don't. Honestly, 12-player rating is not rating to me. So essentially, the way that we started out was every tier had 24-player rating from 11 on up. And it was just going to be this way. And it was 3 raids per tier at 3 boss fights per. Not that the tier itself was raid caliber. Tier 11 was still going to be, the open world difficulty was still going to scale based on what tier you're in. It wasn't just automatically going to become, oh my God, we need to now run around with 24 players in order to survive open world. That wasn't what we were doing. We just wanted to put raids in these areas as well. So what happened was we wound up with 90 raid fights. So 24-player raids, 3 of them in all tiers from 11 to 20. So it's 10 tiers. And 3 boss fight scenarios in each one. And that doesn't include all the pre-boss fight scenarios. So this came up to 90 raid fights that we had to design, and we created 15 like that, just out of scratch. Somebody would say something, and all of a sudden somebody's typing on our raid document. And I actually meant to share an example of what one of our raids looked like, but I don't think the notes on the backside of the raid are really going to help you guys see what the fight looks like. It'll more just tell you how to beat the fight than anything. I don't think it'll really show you how the raid's going to flow. So I decided not to do that. So we looked at it, and I said, but raids have been getting way too simple, way too simple. And this is what happens when you shrink raids: is it become very, very simple. EQ1 raids 72 players. There were times for a lot of open world bosses where it was 200 plus players, and it wasn't one raid force; that was multiple raid forces just teaming up. And essentially, what happened in that regard is the raid force that did the most damage got the loot. And so sometimes they would distribute it amongst everybody, but most times it didn't happen like that. The raid force that won just got the loot, period. There were a lot of dicks in EQ1, there's no question about that. But they had your back in the long run, and it was it was about a show of force, about a friendship, a bond. In those situations, it didn't happen that often that it really became such an issue. Everybody was far more excited about killing the bastard than they really were about the loot itself. So it never brought up a major issue. Hell, Sleeper didn't even have a loot table, and I still don't believe the Sleeper died, though there's 2,000 people out there that will tell you that they were a part of the 600-man raid or 600-player raid that took down the Sleeper. And every one of them led it. So that's why I don't believe the Sleeper ever died, because there's nothing for it. Nobody recorded it. Where'd that happen? No way. Anyways, so we added in a 36-player raid system, but decided we only wanted it in tiers 18, 19, and 20. So it was 3 more tiers and 3 more fight seats. That brought us up to about 117 fights, boss fight scenarios, which is a manageable number. Absolutely manageable. That's a lot of boss fights, okay? Absolutely a lot of boss fights. As gamers ourselves, we were absolutely excited about this. And then somebody brought up I think it was Adora, might have been Steve. It was one of those two. I'm absolutely sure of that. Brought up the idea of 12-player raids just to kind of help people get their feet wet in raiding. And that a lot of people aren't going to want to feel like they're forced into 24, 36-player group. Now, my argument for that was, if we create a system that's balanced enough, we create a system that weighs the player's skill enough, that's not going to be. You're not going to have thousands and millions of people at endgame that took 5 minutes to level up to get to endgame, vying for, I want to have the best raid guild. What you're going to wind up with is a very old school system where you've got 20% of the population, say. It's less than that, but we'll call it 20% of the population in the raiding scenarios. That 20% of the population is actually a very close community, very close community. They work together. A lot of them know each other. There are some really big names in those types of scenarios who are very popular among all raiders, and even people who don't raid, people who are trying to get to that point. They know all these big names. And so what happens is, you wind up with these individuals, because there's not very many of them. Let's say 1 million players, maybe 200,000. That's a huge number. It's never going to be 200,000, not near launch. So the reality is maybe 100,000 players, maybe, are going to be in the raiding scenarios. And of that, only about 5% are really going to be at the very end, so tier 20, right? And we're talking about a 6 to 9 month scale. So within the first 6 to 9 months, maybe 10 to 20% of your total game population is going to be there. That 10 to 20%, they rely on each other a lot. They group up a lot. They form guilds. They don't go off and try to make their own guilds and undermine everybody. And you don't see any of that. They're trying to accomplish goals. These people are very, very, very goal-driven, very teamwork-driven, very dependent on others, and love to be dependent on by others. Not that they need others, so to speak, but they want to beat the hardest stuff that there is to beat. They don't really care about anything else outside of what it might give them for money. So they only care about this really, really big stuff. So that was my argument, was that we're not going to have that problem where you've got 100,000 guilds and nobody can manage to pull their heads out their ass and realize that sometimes in order to lead, you have to follow. go join an actual raid guild and be a part of a force instead of trying to create a million different mini forces. So where a lot of the problem comes in, and we've actually had a discussion on this forums. Somebody brought up the issue, and I explained this in pretty big detail. Um, and I absolutely think this is going to upset some people and it's going to excite others. We're not here to please everybody, so I don't want anybody to feel like this is personally against you. This is just the design of the game. Um, when it comes down to it, those players are not going to be spread out in 100 million different guilds. They're going to be in 6 to 30 major guilds that can hold all these players. And there's going to be a hierarchy that evolves from this, where you've got stepping stone guilds. And a lot of people don't like being those stepping stone guilds, but the reality is, unless you're on that competitive edge, unless you're competitive progressive guild, you are absolutely a stepping stone guild. Deal with it and understand your place in the economy of guilds, of raiding. It's important. You're very important. Without you, the big guilds can't do what they do. There's nobody to train, nobody to gear up and provide experience for. And there's no way for these big guilds to find these high quality players. You may be it. I knew quite a few people in EQ1 who came from these big time guilds that just wanted to run a guild. They didn't want to be progressively competitive or anything like that. They just wanted to raid, not the most difficult content, just new stuff. And they wanted to be challenged and they wanted to teach people. And so they provided, just by their personality traits and what they put together, they provided an economy that grew out of this rating system where players and player skill was the most valuable asset to trade. And it's essentially what became huge. There were many times where guild leaders from lower end guilds, I'll say lower and higher end, not to make any of them seem like they're any less important or one's better than the other or whatever, just so that we have a reference point. So a lower end guild would be in constant communication, the guild leader with a higher end guild, and they would say, this guy would say, look, a couple guys aren't panning out. Do you have any healers that you could send my way or something like that? I've got a couple DPS that I can fill some slots with. And there was constantly back and forth, players being traded here and there to fulfill roles. And maybe, you picked up a raider that was losing raid time and wanted to raid part-time. Instead of having to just dump the guild and go and surf the economy, your guild leader would trade you out for another player among other guilds. And it was a very unique and fluid system that hasn't existed at all. So that's what I'm arguing for. Away from the 12-player raids into the, I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent there. Raiding is a passion for me. I'm not a min-maxer, but it's so gorgeous. It's the players, man. The players make the game. And that's what we're here for. So tier 11 through 15 rating offers a few potentials, right? So if we just add in, let's just say just tier 12 or 12-player raids to 11 through 15, we're looking at upping the raid count to, I believe the number was 160 or something like that. And that's without adding in any 24-player raids. Where are we at? Numbers up here somewhere. It's like 180 or 160, or it's near 200 boss fight scenarios. And that starts to become much bigger than it actually needs to be. There's a point where you've got a lot. There's a point where you just got so much that nobody even touches half of it because it's just too damn much of it. You don't need all that much. So if we, all of us, decide that we want to see tier 11 through 15 rating, and this is my vote, yes, and I do not care about 12-player rates. I'm the only one that's voted so far. I just made the thread. Obviously, I voted. I'm the only one that voted. If we put ourselves in these situations, or in this situation where we decide we do want 11 to 15 rating, we can either outright just add a whole bunch of 12-player rates to this, and it would absolutely increase the workload. Or we can remove all 12-player rating and just add 24-player rates to the 12 to 15, and that would keep our workload at 117 boss fight scenarios. That wouldn't double or increase or nothing crazy like that. It would just keep the workload at a steady number. Um, that ideally, that would be what I want to see. If we do tier 11 through 15 rating. If players decide, no, I want rating to be a part of the tier 16 content where it actually fits into the difficulty of the tier, then we'll go there. We'll do it like that. But this is for you guys to help us decide, not just for us to make a decision and tell you what we decide. This isn't one of those things where it's absolutely necessary for us to just make a freaking decision on. This isn't something that's going to make or break the game. I think having too many raid fights would just be one of them stupid things that we did. I don't think it'll impact the value of the game at all. It'd just be something people look back on and say, yeah, no, I never even did that raid, that 12, 13 raid, never even heard of it. We want to create content that players are going to be able to dive into, not overwhelm players with so much content they have absolutely no freaking idea where to go. So I think to help avoid that, we would need to kind of curb how many raids we've got out there, but that's that. So I'm gonna take some questions now in comments if anybody's got them about this. Shun the non-believer. That must have been towards my Reddit comment. All right. If you've got any questions about this, any impact questions or any clarity that you want to see, so I don't know why I'm keying in. then ask the questions. They'll get them to me. That's fine. On to another part that I think is equally as important, because we've had a couple people say things like, "Oh, I hope this game doesn't only let you master one craft on a character. I hate that." And we kind of giggle because that's essentially what this game does. And it's not the same kind of crafting as other MMOs. This crafting is a lot like the tier progression system and the PvP system. You're progressing through your crafting. It's not something you're going to master overnight or throw a shitload of money at and be able to become the best crafter on the planet. It's not how this crafting system works. This crafting system is very skill dependent, time based. A lot of times, even with high skill, just like PvE and PvP, you're still going to need to go out there and get the gear to help you supplement for natural disadvantages you're going to have. Hell, crafters even have epic gear created for them. So it's not your typical crafting system. Because of the complexity, the size of it, the importance of it, we do treat it like a class system. You can only master one class, so we put in where you can only master one craft. Now we have flirted with, not for this expansion or the first expansion, but for the potential of other expansions. We flirted with the multi-classing idea and what's the other, I don't know, I can't remember what the other term for it is. Dual class, no, something else. Anyways, we have flirted with how to create a system like that. Now, that's not to say that a bard's going to be able to become a healer at the same time or something crazy like that. A tank being able to heal themselves. If we ever did even discuss in any seriousness the type of multi-classing system, subclassing is the other word, it would have to be dangerously. It would have to be very well put together. But when it came to crafting, we didn't feel like this was going to provide an imbalance if we did something like this. Now, I haven't put this question up yet. Again, very long week for me. We do a lot of stuff, busy lives, and I absolutely forgot. I usually like to put these questions up. Actually, now I'm thinking about, I'm gonna make alarm for it, and I'll make sure Steve and Ashley remind me. I know Ashley would be anxious to remind me that I screwed something up again. Again. I like to get these out there Wednesday and Thursday. Just get a little bit of input. I think I put them on Twitter, but that's really it. I don't blast these. I really put them there so that they can be here present, ready for you guys to see. And after the podcast, go and kind of attack. Lay your hands on it, put your vote in, voice an opinion if you have one to voice or something like that. If you got a friend standing over the keyboard, I've done that before. who wants to voice their opinion, but they don't have an account yet. Maybe they don't want to make an account. They just kind of want to watch the game from a distance, but they want to contribute, like a backseat driver almost. No, I don't want to drive, but you're screwing up your turn here. So the crafting mentors. So the idea is, it was a free-to-play game I played for a couple days. The longest I played any free-to-play games was Neverwinter. That was, I think, 2 weeks. Sorry, not enough oxygen to the brain. Maybe 2 weeks. I'm not really sure if it was 2 weeks or not, but it wasn't that long. So to say that I've given any free-to-play game an absolutely fair chance, I'd be lying. I'm not gonna lie about it. But when it comes to certain things that I've seen in free-to-play games that I really liked that. I can't remember what the hell. Perfect World? No, it wasn't Perfect World. It was something. The Secret World? Something. It was rather big. It was rather popular among people. I had searched forums and whatnot and asked, and I went to this game specifically because the resounding opinion was that it was a really good game. And usually, when you're looking up games, if somebody, or anything really, if somebody has something negative to say, they'll absolutely tell you about it. They don't care if they sound like idiots. They don't care if they're right. They don't even care if they tell you what was actually wrong. They will just want to let people know, beware of this product. And a lot of times people are right. Absolutely. I'm not saying they're all idiots for being negative. Absolutely not what I'm saying. Apologize if it came off that way. When it comes to being positive, to feeling good about something, people don't typically express that. They're just content with it. They're happy with themselves. They assume other people are as well. That happiness kind of brings a very naive hope that other people feel the same way. So it's very easy for people not to say something's good. So when I was looking for free-to-plays and saw this game and they said it was good, I went and tried it out. In this game was a system, I didn't get involved in crafting, but in the chat was nothing but questions about it and about this mentor system. And it was just mentor, period. I think you had to be like the top within the final 10 levels of the crafting system in order to be a mentor. But essentially you would mentor somebody and you would give them exclusive recipes and help provide items for certain recipes that they're trying to utilize and help them level up. So you got bonus experiences and bonus free-to-play clicks or whatever the system was. With people complaining about, not really complaining, I guess nobody's really complained that we're only doing one class system. Like I had a conversation with 2 people and I explained to them why we're doing it, and both responses were the same. These obviously very reasonable individuals. Not like some of the trolls I've encountered over the last week and a half. But, it was pretty much, well, I understand. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't realize your crafting was going to be so in-depth. And I think the assumption is crafting's not going to be in-depth. It's going to be, ESO, where you literally don't have to craft a thing. You just break apart a whole bunch of stuff and hit max level within half an hour or so. I think some people were doing. Our system, oh, man. I can't wait for you guys to test a crafting system because it's insane. So it's going to be fun. You're going to love it. It's going to challenge the piss out of you. Me, I might get to tier 10 in crafting. Maybe get to tier 10. I just don't have that kind of drive to continue on with crafting. I don't push through crafting the way I push through PvP or PvE. PvP. Anyways, I may actually PvP in this game just because it's got a lot of points and it's got a system that I enjoy. The progression system I really enjoy. It shows me my increased power. When it comes to PvP, I'm more of a group leader. I'm not gonna whoop your ass in PvP. It's not going to happen. I'm not that kind of a PvPer, but I can lead the hell out of a small group of people. ESO, what was it? 4 hours against AD with 20 people, swarms of AD, just obliterating them. When it comes to tactical strategy, I'll wear most people out. One-on-one fights, not so much. So this PvP though, I'll probably enjoy it. I won't enjoy too much open world, like trying to do quests or grind out a boss and getting ganked by random people. That's probably gonna get my blood sugar up, but blood pressure, blood sugar. Why would I raise my blood sugar? Landon, you ain't a doctor. Shut up. Anyway, so what we're looking at for the crafting mentors. So if you have a character that's above tier 10 crafting, so if you're flagged for tier 11 to tier 20 in in your crafting, your chosen profession, you can at that point either choose to mentor or become a mentor. Um, and essentially, we don't know the finite details of it. We don't know if there's going to be an increase to effectiveness or anything like that. There's going to be some kind of, bonus for working together and whatnot. And, put your ideas out there. This post will be up minutes after I'm done with a podcast. So, uh, come back in half an hour and you'll be able to leave your ideas. But essentially, the way it works is once you get, once you select that primary craft, right now the system is once you select that primary crafting system, say I become a leather worker, if I get past, I think we got tier 5, I get into tier 6, that's chosen, absolutely chosen. If I decide by tier 5 I don't like it, I can go back and choose a different one. So that's a little different from the class system. Again, it's not the exact same as class system, just similar concept. I go back and choose a different one, and if I get that, until I find the one that I really like. So tier 6 on up, you're that craft. There's no deleting it or nothing like that. Not right now. We've talked about implementing ways to abandon the craft. You'll lose everything in it, but abandon the craft and restart another. And with the as in depth as this system is, we weren't really sure players are really going to care about it. That may be a question that comes up over the next few weeks, a few months. So be ready for that one, because that's actually a good question, I guess. No, I don't guess. It's a good question. So once you've got that chosen, you're there. Let's say you get, tier 15, and you say, well, I got a buddy's coming in the game, and I want to make him some armor, so I'll become an armor smith or whatever the name of it is. I don't have the list of them right here. We do have different crafts. It's not that I have no idea how the crafting system works. It's just not something that's on the forefront of my mind. So I become an armor smith and want to make my buddy some armor. To plan ahead for that, you can find somebody who's a tier 11 plus armor smith. Become a mentor, and this is the system we're proposing. Become a mentor, and they can help you progress up to tier 10. We haven't decided if there's going to be a limit on how many you can get up to tier 10. If there's only going to be one up to tier 10, these are all questions that come along with this type of system. If yes, is there going to be a number restriction? Yes, no restriction, get everything up to tier 10, and then one is chosen. And that, that's got implications on changing the system all around. A couple implications, none really major. But it requires players to work with other players. It requires the crafters to work with other crafters. And we know this, some people are going to be out there trying to sell their mentorship. I think it's a little dirty, personally. But you can't really hit on the market for being the market. It's like people selling werewolf vampire bites in ESO, although it's a little different since those people are also going out and killing werewolves and vampires, which completely made it impossible to get a bite anywhere else. In this way, it doesn't make it impossible to get it anywhere else. You just need to wait for somebody else. So there are some differences, some possible changes that could come as a result of what we vote on this, but any changes that do come are minor coding changes, nothing that's going to have to be tested indefinitely kind of thing. So crafting mentors, the idea is to allow players to be able to level up at least the second one up to tier 10, which is halfway, and the idea will always be halfway through the progression system. So if we add 10 more levels of progression, the mentor system would add another 5 levels. But to give players a little something to do, a little something else to do. Crafters, no, we don't want crafters to feel like they have to create 12 different characters in order to level up all crafts to max. Some of them just want to dive into other crafts, maybe just experiment with other crafts, and this would be a great way for them to do it. But the crafting right now is just too complex. One player to max out all of our crafting systems, the metric that we've got right now, one player to max out all of our crafting systems will take about 2 years to do. That's how complex we're looking at making this. And it's not to make it impossible for people to max out their crafts. If you focused on one and went with just one from tier 1 all the way to tier 20, it should take anywhere from 4 to 6 months roughly. About the same amount of time as it takes a PvE, PvP progression. Well, PvP progression is a whole nother beast, so we won't even compare that. about the amount of time it takes for PvE progression to go through. It's really how it needs to be scaled. And even then, the crafting system is still faster than the PvP progression, because we're not looking at people being into tier 20 on PvE for a minimum of 6 months. Our desired minimum is 9 months, but we understand min-maxers are always going to be ahead of the curve. Always going, even though our CTO is an absolute min-maxer. Seriously, if you've never had a chance to sit down with Wicked, if you ever get an opportunity to sit down with him and pick his brain. That dude right there. He says shit I don't even understand half the time, and I have to pretend because I'm the CEO, he's the CTO. I'll be damned if he's smarter than me. He's smarter than me. There's no question about that fucking guy. Anyway, so I'll get to that in a second, Steel. So head over to the forums, make a vote, let your voice be heard. If you haven't seen the other videos, I keep them as highlights here. They should be on the bottom of the screen. I believe that's how it works, on the bottom of the screen as you're watching this right now. Go ahead and check them out. Find out what other topics we're talking about. Find out what we're asking players to get involved in, because it's very important for you guys to be involved in this. This game is only important to the ones making it, and this is the truth, and people try to bend the truth for money purposes, but this game is only really important to the people who are making it. If nobody expresses their desires for the game, even if everything that's being said about the game is absolutely true, if you can't express that to anybody, look in a mirror or while you're masturbating to Pornhub or whatever the case may be, telling your best friend about it. You don't have to be on the forums expressing it. We're not sitting there asking for a hippie party with a whole bunch of kumbaya and fireworks and nothing crazy like that. So don't get that feeling. My wife's a hippie, but other than that, I don't want to deal with no hippies. There ain't no wrong for any hippies out there. Man, y'all crazy. I've had to rescue too many hippies in Iraq, I swear to God. Anyway, so war stories for another time, right? Hey, maybe we'll put that in some lore. If you've got any questions pertaining to any of this stuff mentioned, or any questions at all, by all means, put them in the comments. Crave and Adora will be over there. I still haven't made Crave a mod. I apologize, Crave. I said I was going to do that last time. I still don't remember what the command was, I guess, last time. There we go. We'll try that. Oh, it worked. Crave's now a mod, so now he can troll me a little, asshole. Anyways, so Steel says this was onto the rating. Possibly do small one boss raids for the 11 to 15 opposed to the big giant ones in the higher tiers. I guess that's an idea. Is it really rating, or is it just an overworld boss at that point? Like, at that point, honestly, we might as well just put an overworld boss in every zone, which was a plan anyways for all the tiered zones. Obviously, they're raid level zones. Is it worth time creating an entire location for one fight? That's where the question comes in. It's not just about doing, it's also about the importance of the value of doing. If we just went around just doing all kinds of shit just because we could, hey, cool. Picasso made another painting again. Does it have any meaning? Maybe to a millionaire somewhere who just wants to own some Picasso shit. But the Picasso does have a meaning. To anybody looking at it, does it have a meaning? It's like getting tattoos for no reason. I'm all about tattoos. Don't get me wrong. I love me a woman with some tattoos. All right? I love me a woman with some tattoos. If they're good. If you got a dolphin on your butt cheek, you got a tramp stamp, or you got that infinity sign, or a butterfly on your ankle, man, come on now. I'm not going to get off on that. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. All right, anyway. So Craig's boasting about his power. No questions. That's fine. So this will be the end of the podcast. Long week. I don't know if you can tell. I rambled there for a little bit, and I apologize for that. I really do. That's not going to be the norm. Subscribe to our website, sacramentgame.com. On the website, at the same time, I just flipped my mouse. I apologize. Or mouse, mic. At the same time, trying to make eye contact, but I can't read and make eye contact at the same time. We need clear paper y'all can't see. That's what we need. Teleprompters. That's what I need. Oh, put it in the budget, guys. Also, while you're on the website, subscribe to the forums. Forums are on our website, but they are third party, so you will need to subscribe to those separately. Get on there, voice your concerns, your opinions. If you want to call me a raging nutbag, bullet catching Marine, whatever. It's fun for you. If that's really what you want to do, I'll post you some pictures. You can enjoy talking more trash later. You can tell Reddit's gotten to me. It really hasn't. I'm just teasing. If you're looking to donate time, talent, anything like that, you want to help make this project even better or know somebody that does, we have a volunteer form. Head on over, click on the donate button. The actual donate button for money should not be working. I repeat, it should not be working. I found out that it may or may not, I haven't confirmed, I haven't had time. I found out that it may or may not be working right now and that you might actually be able to contribute money. To that one individual who was trying to blow me up and say that we were just trying to scam people out of their money, I apologize that the button that I thought wasn't working was in fact working and that I was not coercing anybody into donating into it. Apparently I'm supposed to do a much better job at telling you that we do not want your money at this point in time. Yeah, Reddit. I kid you not, there's people on there that will find anything to complain about. Like us on Facebook at Sacrament New Gods, all one word. And then follow us on Twitter for Sacrament at Sacrament Game. So Sacrament New Gods on Facebook, Sacrament Game on Twitter. And next week, join us and we're going to talk about DPS meters, their importance, their value, what you'd like to see out of them, and then player merchants. We're going to revisit, I needed to put that word there, I forgot to revisit the concept of player merchants. And this is really the part where we start going over some things we've already talked about. Not to, add a new input or just to update or anything crazy like that. But because, we started out, we had 3 people watching. The second week was 5 people. Third week was 15 people. Eventually we're going to have maybe, a couple hundred people watching. And I want them to realize the things we've already talked about. They shouldn't have to go through all old videos or anything like that. And there might be new input on these subjects at some point. So I want to start being able to go over new or stuff that we've already asked, just so people are aware that they're out there, aware of the types of things that we want people involved in on the decision-making processes of this game. And I think that's one of the best ways to do it. So every now and again, or once a week maybe, every other week, I don't know, haven't decided yet. I'm really spitballing this whole thing, so hip pocket class, baby. We'll go over stuff that we've already gone over, but it shouldn't be boring, I don't think. Maybe I'm boring. I don't know. Too much Doctor Who, can you tell? All this, questioning myself, talking to myself, and you guys have to deal with it, and bow ties are very cool. I like Matt Smith as a doctor, by the way. Anybody that watches that. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm so glad Steve's here. Okay, so also Monday, IR 9? We on 9? I think we're on IR 9. Let's find out, huh? Ooh, I don't know if I should show you guys all that. Sorry, you can't see it. Docs, google.com. Please don't hack me. No, it's not that one. Google Docs. And they keep changing their here. You know what? Home button. So we got a big release coming out. IR9. I'm very certain that it's IR9. Drive.google.com. I don't know why they keep changing that. Just stick with one damn name, Google. Seriously. Why are you trolling everybody? Let's see what we got. I should have planned ahead for this. This big week whooped my ass. That's will not happen again, I promise. All right, I'm just gonna have to scroll down to it manually. Oh, okay, that's why. So, oh, really? Yeah. All right, so IR9, DPS, you're gonna love this one. Information release 9 is going to go over all of our. Is it really 10? No. Really? No. Really? No, it's 9. You troll. Man, don't make me revoke your rights to moderate stuff, bastard. All right, so yes, information release. Now, I didn't think we talked about DPS concepts yet. I could have swore last time was tanking. So every 2 weeks, for those of you that aren't aware, every 2 weeks we do a new information release, and this is for a lot of reasons. Primarily so that we are forced to stay in touch with you guys. And it's about delivering information at a steady rate, not an overwhelming rate. If we dropped everything we had, you guys would lose your mind. Nobody would ever read our shit. I wouldn't read our shit. Oh my goodness. It'd be too much. So we talk about melee DPS. Melee, I love this shit. Range DPS, elemental DPS, physical DPS. That should actually say arcane DPS, not elemental. I did update that in the document. It does not cover pet DPS because we're treating pet class as its own concept because it is very important. So for those pet DPS that want to figure out how your class is going to work, you're going to have to wait. I'm sorry. You're going to have to wait for a few more weeks. A few. I think it's a month out. 2 months out. 2 months out. So you're going to have to wait 2 months. You can come back in 2 months. We won't be offended. You know, we're not trying to build the game all at once right now. So, but if that's all you're waiting on for the pet stuff, you have to wait for DPS, especially melee DPS out there. Because let's be honest, melee's been getting screwed over in video games over the last 15 freaking years. I swear to you, EQ1 and EQ2 are the only ones to do it right. It drives me nuts that those old ass games are the only ones to figure it out. Ugh, why? Why is it so difficult to figure this shit out? Anyways, I gotta go eat, so I gotta finish this up. Yeah, I need to update some of this stuff. So we talk about DPS concepts. We also release another deity, the Odros deity, descriptive lore, and the concept behind Odros, as well as should be some artwork and the Lizard race descriptive lore. So those of you race hounds who are interested in races, Lizard race is coming out. The artwork is almost done. The black and white is done. So we'll release the black and white if we don't have the color and texture completed by then. So you can see what it looks like, and then we'll update when we get the color and texture added. No pressure on my team out there doing the artwork. We got 2 amazing individuals doing all this artwork. So all for them. Odros, isn't that the god of justice or something like that? I believe so. I think that's Odros. So Monday, be ready for that. If you're a real stickler for it, it's Monday. If you're East Coast, it's Monday at like 1 a.m. in the morning. 1 p.m. in the morning. Law. There you go. Odros, god of law. All right. I think you guys can hear everything they're saying. So, if you're a stickler for the release, the second it happens, 1 a.m. on the East Coast, Monday morning. Colorado is 10 p.m. at night, which means California is 9 p.m. at night. So, go for it and stay up and enjoy that. If you don't want to read what's coming out, you just want to hear about it and discuss it with somebody other than on the forums. A lot of people don't like to subscribe to things, and we absolutely understand that. So check out Izzy's Twitch. Is going to happen Monday. I believe it's happening in the evening. I don't have an exact time for you. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll keep you updated on the time that happens. I'll get an actual time for you in a little bit. If she's here, she'll mention it. But so follow her. As her and check, go through the information. Be prepared for them to challenge anything that sounds ridiculous. They're highly instructed to do so. It's one of the reasons why I asked them to do it, because I felt like they were absolutely unbiased about feeling like they could critique. I don't want to be one of the companies where I own everybody that critiques our shit, or that critiques our shit, and then nothing's really being fed to the people. So check them out. I believe it's Isilda is the Twitch page. But again, follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and you'll get a link directly there, as well as the time. It'll be East Coast Standard Time. Um, there you go, Isilda right there. Thank you, Crave. So that link right there, go ahead and save it as a page to go to. Every other Monday, they cover our information release. So they get a lot of information from us too. So they'll have some explanations if you got any questions. So check them out. Enjoy them. Tune in next week. Thank you for being here. I love your face. I know you don't love mine, but you got to deal with it because you like the game.